The past 10 years have been nuts for Magic. While some of the more recent cards have proven to be insane, and more people have started getting turned on by the ban hammer, it's time we take a look back at some of the most ridiculous creatures this decade has given us. This is my list of top 10 creatures in the past 10 years. In order to be eligible to make the list, the card must have had its first printing between 2010 and 2019. Anything that has been reprinted in that time will not be counted, as they're not new cards this decade. I'm judging these roughly on a mix of overall power level and value generated when played. I'm also going by their impact on the game, whether they're format staples, a pillar of the game, or are just good fun cards. These are all valid ways to make the cut. Before I jump into the list, please click like, subscribe and click the bell icon to keep up to date with all the latest and greatest videos from yours truly. It's a fantastic way to support me for free and I really do appreciate it. If you disagree with any of these, by the way, feel free to hurl abuse at me in the comments below. Hell, even comment with your own top 10. Or for an extra bit of fun, you can try to imagine how people would react if some of these older cards on the list were reprinted today. But without further ado, number 10, Siege Rhino. This horny boy was responsible for making Standard either miserable or wonderful, depending on your circumstance, for quite some time. It was also a strong player in Modern for a considerable amount of time too, often showing up in Abzan, or Junk as they were known then, value decks. You really haven't lived until you've restoed a Rhino against Burn though. Number 9, Young Pyromancer. PZ is a personal favourite, having made their way into countless decks over the years. They're partly responsible for the creation of the Mardu Pyromancer deck in Modern, hence the name, and they've shown up in many Izzet spells decks across several formats. They excel at providing incidental value in these strategies, they're terrifying in multiples, and must be answered immediately. There have been many imitations since, but they've rarely come close. Number 8, Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Thalia has become an eternal mainstay, and the gold standard when it comes to taxing creatures. She's often showed up in Modern alongside Cat Jesus and Ghost Quarter to form an almost hard lock on the opponent's mana. And there's nothing more embarrassing in Modern than dying to 2 grizzly bears while you can't crack your expedition fetch that daddy bought you for being such a good boy. She's also prevalent in Legacy and even Vintage, as an effect this powerful can shut down entire strategies and archetypes. Number 7, Delvar of Secrets. This card was so impactful that it has an entire deck archetype named after it. Hell, even when you say the word Delvar, most players will know roughly 90% of the deck and how it's built. It had some time in Standard, Modern and Pauper as a pretty good deck, but its true home is in Legacy. Being able to stack the top of your deck using powerful cantrips made this wizard the perfect choice for an extremely efficient threat. Nothing feels as good as blind flipping a Delvar, although that literally never ever happens to anyone at all, ever. No, I'm not salty, you're salty! Number 6, Stoneforge Mystic. Somewhere in the English countryside, Pleasant Kenobi just got an erection. Stoneforge is a card with an interesting history, from being banned in Standard due to the overwhelming presence of Cobblade decks, to being auto-banned during the creation of Modern, to then being unbanned as Wizards kinda realised that it's probably not that great in Modern anyway, and seeing it on a banned and restricted list beside the likes of Hypergenesis and Dread Return is kind of embarrassing. It's a powerful card that sees a lot of Legacy play, beside Jite and the Swords, is often in Commander as a nice little toolbox enabler, and now sees some play in Modern with the recent unbanning. I put this high on the list due to the amount of press and notoriety that it received throughout the years. Number 5, Tireless Tracker. Old Tire Tracks is one of the best value creatures to have seen print in Magic, possibly ever. It is a very clever and innately powerful design in that it rewards you for just playing the game. You get value for making your land drops, and then you get value for cashing in on that land drop value. It's essentially a one-card engine that works beautifully with fetches. And this has led to it seeing a nice bit of play across every format, giving green access to some card draw while also being a decent threat in and of itself. It's also able to get out of bolt range very quickly, which is quite tasty. Number 4, Scavenging Ooze. Old Scooze is a real doozy. It might look quite benign as a 2/2 for 2, but being able to main deck Graveyard Hate that can also smack face is a huge boon to many decks. It works similarly to how Tireless Tracker provides value. It rewards you more the longer it's left out. Even against non-graveyard decks, it can shine by outgrowing your opponent's creatures and gain you some life to help you win that race. This has seen play in almost every format that it's legal in, and until they print a more ridiculous version of this, it'll just keep seeing play. Number 3, Monastery Swiftspear. Old Taylor's Swiftspear is the best red 1-drop since Goblin Guide, and in some decks it's even better. From Standard right the way through to Legacy, she's seen constant play and with no sign of that changing anytime soon. She's got a forever home in Mono Red decks in Pioneer, in Burn and Mono Red Prowess in Modern, and also Burn and some Delvar lists in Legacy. I've got some bad news if you're not a fan of her. She's here to stay. You won't be able to shake it off. Number 2, Walking Ballista. Oh my god, this card, I don't even know where to start. It's seen ridiculous play in literally every format it's legal and can fit into basically any deck. And before anyone thinks they're a smart arse by saying, but Scott, it can't go into Manaless Dredge. Yes, it technically can. You can cast it for 0 even with no lands out, and it can die immediately to trigger 3 Bridge from Belows in your bin and make 3 zombies so that you can sacrifice them to Dread Return in order to reanimate a Balustrade Spy and win the game on the spot. So, there. Sorry. It's a flexible way to fill a curve, it can shoot down small creatures, it's a ridiculous mana sink and win condition for decks that can produce infinite mana, and it's great at taking +1/+1 counters. Here's looking at you, Hardened Scales and Winding Constrictor. I'll link below to PK's rant on Ballista if you'd like to listen to a 15-minute bearded spiel on why this card is so ridiculous and why designs like this can be so risky. Before I reveal number 1, I want to point out some honourable mentions. Brazen Borrower, for being one of the best tempo cards in a very long time. As it's so new, I also suspect that we haven't seen its full potential yet. Reclamation Sage, for being an extremely versatile, tutorable, and sometimes main deckable answer to artifacts and enchantments. It set the bar for this type of card going forward. And Urza Lord High Artificer, for being a busted commander, a powerhouse in Modern, and for making me extremely happy that Modern Horizons does not affect Standard or Pioneer. Finally, we've made it. We're at number 1. What do you think it might be? You can pause here if you really want to try and guess the top spot. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1. Snapcaster Mage. There's no way number 1 for me could be anything other than Snappy. Diego Chan's invitational card is as synonymous with blue as Bolt is with red, which is kind of funny as Bolt Snap Bolt is arguably the most well-known play in all of Magic. If it's legal and you're playing instants or sorceries, you're probably playing some number of Snapcasters. Some control decks even use Snappy as their primary win condition, as they're great early to reuse spells or flash in to block, and they're surprisingly effective as a finisher when they're recasting bolts from the bin. This is without a doubt one of the most powerful creatures ever printed. If you've ever cast a Thoughtseize and your opponent reveals a Snapcaster, you know there's got to be something extremely special in their hand to make you take anything else. Did you agree with my top 10? What did I get wrong? Have I become a total scrub for leaving something critical off this list? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be back soon with another top 10 of the decade video, so make sure you're subscribed and click that bell so that you don't miss it. If you like this and want to support me, there are several ways you can do so. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch, you can join my Patreon, or you can get me a coffee. All links are in the description below. If you want to buy any of the cards on this list, you can head over to TCG Player using the link below to buy them at the best prices. And if you want something to play them on, you can head over to the lovely folks at Ink Gaming. They've got custom and store art playmats, dice bags, PC gaming mouse pads, the whole shebang. Click the link in the description box below and use the offer code Savantier for 10% off. By doing either of these things, you'll be supporting me, which I think is really sound of you. So thank you very much for watching, everybody, and until next time, take it easy and keep on jacking.